Man, has he been a go-to for us in many ways, television deals, college football, how it all works, networks, grant of rights, all of the things that go with it. Bob Thompson, retired president, Fox Sports Network, and, of course, his own company, Thompson Sports Group, LLC. Bob, thank you very much. With Paul Craig, and I'm Smokey, and appreciate your time. It's been a while. The story on Friday, let's start with that. What do you think? We know what maybe happened. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. Never thought I would be here getting into the intricacies of a cable audit with you guys, but here we are. So what happened, here's basically what happened. So cable networks have certain audit rights whereby they send in an independent auditor to go through the cable operator's book, so to speak, to make sure that the cable operator is reporting the right number of subscribers to the network, and that the network is, for all intents and purposes, charging them the right amount per subscriber. Now, we all do it. It's a specialized audit firm that, and many times they'll go in and they'll audit for multiple networks at a single time. So apparently what happened is they found there was a discrepancy, and the discrepancy was resulting in an overpayment by this distributor to the Pac-12 networks. The auditors informed the president and the CFO, and apparently after that, while it may be hard to believe, nothing was ever done about it. The way the Pac-12 makes it sound is they should have reported this to the board of directors of presidents or the Pac-12 conference's outside auditors, which would be like a Price Waterhouse or a KPMG, that type of thing. I would also assume that they would have reported it to the commissioner, but that was not mentioned. So fast forward, we get to 2022, last October, and the same distributor makes it a claim to the Pac-12 that they've overpaid $50 million over some period of time. And so the Pac-12, I think, did the exact right thing. They investigated the claims, saw there was something there, hired an outside law firm to do a full-on investigation. The outside law firm decided that it was in fact true that the president and the CFO were made aware of the overpayment and back in August, and did nothing about it. And at that point, they were terminated. And, so here we are now. There's some claim out there for $50 million. We don't know if that is the real number or if that's just a claim. We're not exactly even sure who the distributor is, although we have some ideas based on some other legal issues that were going on the exact same month. And we don't know what the results are going to be. I mean, are they going to try and claw back this money somehow? Has the money been distributed to the schools already? Nobody knows exactly. It doesn't appear as though anybody had ill-gotten gains, although if the money went into the network's financials, it's possible that compensation, bonuses, things like that could be calculated based on somewhat sketchy numbers. So there's a lot to come out on this. I think we've really just hit the tip of the iceberg, and it's very unfortunate, but it's something that is going to have to go through the whole process to get to before we get to the bottom of it.
Bob, I've had the same question since this popped on Friday. How did the distributor wait so many years to report this after they sent the audit? Like, why didn't they get a copy of the audit?
Well, that's one of the reasons I have a belief, other than, and this is just in my own mind, that it's Dish Network, because earlier in October, the Pac-12 network sued Dish for failing to make payments. And the dispute was over a rebate from the pandemic season in 2020. And that was when the Pac-12 had a limited schedule. And so the Pac-12 networks only aired one football game that year. So there's mechanisms in place in these affiliate agreements that calls for a rebate back to the cable companies, and theoretically they're supposed to give it back to the subscribers in the case of a product not being delivered that was promised. Well, Dish Network took the stance that they should also have a reduction for 2018 and 2019, even though there was no pandemic. So that caused the so they just withheld payment. That caused the Pac-12 to file a civil suit against Dish. My guess is at that point, somebody at Dish goes, well, we better go take a look at this, at what we paid, what we haven't paid, et cetera. And it would be my guess that was the point the overpayment was discovered. And, it might have been terminated in 2017. They might have stopped the overpayment in 2017, but they went back and the network launched in 2011 or 12. So it could have gone, back for a long time. And so my guess is the filing of the lawsuit by the Pac-12 on Dish might have uncovered inadvertently this overpayment.
Does this affect television negotiations at all when you are embroiled in legal disputes, even though Fox and ESPN, Amazon, Apple TV, whoever is going to be involved in the Pac-12 would have nothing to do with Dish Network other than their own, the ones who are television networks, their own carriage issues?
Everybody has carriage issues with Dish, so it's no big deal. I really don't think from the net or the media rights agreement standpoint, it's just, I don't think it has any effect on it. It's just, more noise buzzing around out there that the Pac-12 probably didn't really need or want.
Bob, you ran Fox Sports. You were the executive president. Do you think Larry Scott knew any of this was going on? Or I'm not saying he was a part of it, but is there any culpability on his end?
Well, let's say this was one of my networks, and the auditors who I would deal with, they would show the results to myself and to my CFO. And if I saw a discrepancy that was of a significant amount of money, I would immediately take it to my superior. I wouldn't go two levels above my superior, to Mr. Murdoch or to, God forbid, the board of directors, or even and definitely not the outside auditors. I would go to my direct report, right. Guy I reported to. And but these guys were terminated for not going a level above their boss, which I find kind of hard to believe. The other thing I find a little hard to believe is that, the president of the network, Mark Shukin, he'd just joined the network. He'd only been there 4 or 5 months. None of this happened on his watch. Why would he sit on it? He had no reason to sit on it. I mean, that's the type of thing, you're coming in, you got a free pass. You bust that out and make sure people know about it. You don't sit on it.
So as we talk to you, a bizarre story has even gotten more bizarre because I didn't even know that about Mark Shukin. So it just, I guess a lot of people would say, well, there's no way that Larry Scott wouldn't know, but, not telling him, you could see, would have some benefit if you were just trying to, let it go and get distributed and find out. I'm very curious, Bob, to see what the plan was here, or if it was just out and out negligence.
It's possible it was just out and out negligence. It was possible. I suppose that certain people weren't made aware of things they should have been aware of. It just is kind of unusual to me. And if you read the whole Pac-12 release, there seems to be quite a few holes in it. They don't really talk about who else was talked to. There's word that Larry Scott was talked to. I don't know. He's probably under the terms of some separation agreement with the conference. So, maybe there's issues as it relates to disclosing any conversations with him. There could be a lot of things. It just seems to me that it doesn't ring true for myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people who've been in this business for a long time. This is just not how this stuff comes down.
So, Bob, what would that, without saying, what would that indicate if this is not being reported as of right now? We're not getting the whole picture. What could that potentially be blocking as far as the truth goes?
Well, the question is, did these guys in fact tell somebody? And whoever they told did nothing about it. That would be the only thing that would come to my mind. The other thing is, we don't know if in fact the overpayment claim of $50 million is correct, which it may or may not be. Where's that money? Did it go into the network?
Right.
Has it been distributed to the schools? Because ultimately that's what happens. If there's excess profits on the network, it gets distributed to the schools. And, I assume the schools would spend it. So, going forward, what's the plan? If there's going to be a clawback of some of this money, where's it going to come from? Is it going to come out of future media revenues and disbursements, that type of thing? That's going to have to be decided. But we're a long ways from that.
Bob, what do you think your best guess is on when this TV deal gets done, now that we're into the first quarter of the year and the deal is up at the end of the year?
Well, all the media executives are back from having December off. They should be able to finalize this pretty soon. My guess is why it's taken so long is, there's probably, my guess is Amazon's in it. It's a new partner. It's a new mode of distribution. So requiring it and papering it is taking probably a little longer than one would expect. The other thing is maybe they haven't quite got to the dollar level they're looking for. So they're still out there, haggling. Keep in mind, just look back at Sunday Ticket with the NFL, and ultimately they signed with Google. I mean, that thing took forever, because and it went through the entire list of potential, carriers. It's going to be Apple, it's going to be Amazon, it's going to be DirecTV is going to keep it again. And then, wow, out of nowhere comes Google. And so, that thing took about 18 months. So we're nowhere near that. But I would think, if they haven't got to the dollar figure, which is what happened with with the NFL and Sunday Ticket, they're just going to, they're going to keep hammering and hammering away, and hopefully that they get to a number that they're prepared to accept.
Do you think obviously they're not going to go, I would think, obviously not go all in with Amazon, because the networks, like we've talked about many times with you in the past, Bob, still matter a great deal when it comes to college football. Do you think it would be a mistake to go too heavy with Amazon, because you don't have the kind of get out of jail free card or free passes like the NFL does when it does things like this?
You're correct. I think I wouldn't go, full in. I wouldn't even probably, maybe half. I think the one thing you have to keep in mind about college football and Amazon, it's, they're not going to have the only game on Saturday. There's going to be 8 other games going at any given time. So you get people to go out of their platform and into Amazon Prime to watch a Pac-12 game when they've got 6 or 7 other games on their satellite or cable bundle. It's going to be tough. The other thing is you always have to be careful about trading dollars for distribution, and it's a scenario that people can fall into very easily, and then you disappear. And there's still extreme value in having broad exposure for the institutions, for the conference, for the student athletes. Very, very important. And so, I would assume that the bigger games are going to be on ABC, ESPN, I think. But, Amazon Prime might be, a workhorse and have the bulk of things. But the marquee stuff, I think, will ultimately end up on ABC, ESPN. I still think Fox is out. And there was a little incident the other day. UCLA played at Arizona State. Fox didn't send announcers. They called the game remotely. The conference kind of went off on Fox, which, I can understand, but you don't do that if you're in the middle of negotiations with somebody. So just another reason why I think, Fox is out. You might pick up the phone and call them and tell them you're unhappy, but you don't tell the press you called them and told them you're unhappy. So CBS is, I've heard CBS might be poking around, but I don't know how that works for them with the picking up the Big Ten rights in that 3:30 window, and they probably don't want to preempt prime time. That would be the only other place. So I'm still sticking with ESPN, ABC, and Prime as the primary carriers. And somebody's going to figure out what to do with the Pac-12 networks.
Bob, the most important question is how's your golf game in Scottsdale? And you had that injury you've come back from. It seems like you're kind of right back in it.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm not quite full strength, but hitting the ball okay. It's not like Scottsdale right now. It's like it snowed up in the mountains outside of town yesterday. So I think the high was 40 today, gray and cold. So no golf this week.
Does that about 5 days a year. It's about 5 days a year. Hey, man, we really appreciate you always. It's great we've been able to get you on. And I know it's been a while, but you've been able to enjoy. And great stuff again today on the story from Friday, Craig.
Yeah, Bob, I guess I just thought of this because, last time we've typically talked to you, it's been, realignment related and now obviously TV executives as well. But what are your thoughts on Kevin Warren leaving the Big Ten and any residual impact that has moving forward?
A couple of things. I think, when it was leaked the way it was leaked and there was no denial, I think I termed it the classic non-denial denial. It was pretty clear that he was hoping that maybe the conference would come back and give him an extension. And when there was no response to that, I think that was pretty much the handwriting on the wall. As it relates to expansion, I think it probably puts a stop for now. Certainly within the Power Five. I don't see. There might be some G5 movement, but not in the Power Five. Assuming the Pac-12 can get a deal done, I think everything kind of stays as is through up to like 2030, and then it's who knows what could happen at that point. But yeah, Kevin certainly probably had more expansion desires than the rest of the Big Ten presidents and ADs did, and I think at the end of the day, he's probably better off going over to Chicago. I mean, it's not very often you can go from two top positions in the same sport, different leagues, same sport, and not have to move. So yeah, that was a good result for him.
Bob, thank you very much. Great insight, great knowledge, experience. Bob Thompson, former Fox Sports CEO, president, also a part of his company that is consulting in the business as well.